Hey, deep divers, welcome back. Ever
Yeah.
feel like the world of global business is this massive swirling ocean?
Yeah, kinda.
Well, today we're strapping on our scuba gear
Oh, nice.
and diving deep into the world of international business partnerships.
Right.
Specifically, how to make them work.
Yeah, and trust me, it's a lot more complex than just shaking hands across a continent.
Right.
There's strategy, culture clashes,
Hmm.
negotiation tactics,
Oh, wow.
whole ecosystem down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've got the perfect guides for this underwater adventure.
Okay.
We're diving into a textbook today.
Okay.
International Business Strategy in Cross-Cultural Management, an applied approach.
All right.
And the author team
Mm-hmm.
is seriously impressive.
It really is.
Like-
We've got Nicole Franziska-Richter,
Okay,
a full professor specializing in cross-cultural management.
gotcha.
Then there's Jesper Schranskov,
Uh-huh.
an international business expert who's amazing at breaking down complicated ideas.
Great.
Sven Hoff brings his HR expertise, focusing on how different cultures view work itself.
Makes sense.
And rounding out the team is Vasil Taras,
All right.
a global collaboration guru and the brains behind the X Culture Project.
That X-Culture project sounds fascinating.
Yeah,
But before we get sidetracked,
sure.
let's focus on the textbook itself.
Okay.
What's
Yeah.
the big question it's trying to answer?
It's tackling this massive challenge.
Mm-hmm.
How do businesses make international partnerships actually work?
Oh,
You're entering new markets,
Right.
navigating cultural differences,
yeah.
trying to blend different ways of doing things.
Wow.
It's a recipe for disaster if you're not prepared.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So this book is basically the survival guide for anyone venturing into the global business jungle.
Exactly.
I'm already feeling lost, so let's break it down.
Okay, sure.
Chapter 4 dives straight into the deep end with market entry strategies alongside a partner.
Right into the thick of it.
Yeah.
We're talking strategic alliances, joint ventures, mergers, acquisitions,
Oh, wow.
the whole spectrum of how companies can team up to conquer new territories.
Okay.
Yeah.
From what I've skimmed,
Mm-hmm.
the authors are saying that these partnerships aren't just optional.
Right.
They're absolutely crucial for succeeding on a global scale.
Yeah.
It's like trying to climb Mount Everest without a Sherpa.
Exactly.
Right.
And this chapter doesn't sugarcoat things.
Okay.
It lays out the cold, hard truth.
All right.
Finding the right partner is only step one.
Oh, okay.
The real challenge is making that collaboration thrive,
Yeah.
which means getting the pre-partnering phase right.
Okay, so matchmaking for businesses.
Yeah, you could say that.
How do companies even begin to find the one in this vast global marketplace?
First, the chapter says you have to know yourself.
Okay.
What are your goals in this new market?
Yeah,
What are you missing that a partner could bring?
gotcha.
It's about finding that perfect synergy where your strengths complement theirs.
So 1 + 1 = 3 kind of situation.
Exactly.
But how do you even find these potential partners?
Well-
Is there like a business dating app I'm not aware of?
Not quite an app,
Okay.
but the chapter does offer a tool called a partner map.
Okay.
Think of it like a treasure map.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of gold, you're searching for the ideal business soulmate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it encourages you to think outside the box,
Mm-hmm.
looking beyond your immediate industry for potential collaborators. That's smart.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself to just the usual suspects,
Mm-hmm.
but with a global pool of possibilities, how do you narrow it down and choose the best fit?
The authors recommend a scoring model
Oh, okay.
that goes beyond just finances.
All right.
It's like a compatibility test for businesses.
Wow.
You're assessing strategic fit.
Hmm.
Do your goals align?
Yeah.
But also organizational fit.
Okay.
Do your company cultures mesh well?
Makes sense.
Do you have similar management styles and risk tolerance?
Well, it's way more than just checking if they have deep pockets.
Yeah, for sure.
You're essentially looking for a business relationship built to last.
Exactly.
Right.
And the chapter really stresses that neglecting this aspect
Mm-hmm.
can lead to some serious headaches down the line.
Oh, yeah.
It's like jumping into a marriage without considering if you actually like spending time with the person.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So you found the one.
Okay.
You've checked all the compatibility boxes.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next? Time to define the terms of engagement, right?
Right. It's negotiation time.
Okay.
And the chapter is packed with advice on how to approach these discussions effectively.
All right.
First and foremost, assemble the right team.
Okay.
You need big picture thinkers and detail-oriented folks working together.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing knowing your own walkaway point is crucial too.
absolutely.
What are you willing to concede and what's absolutely non-negotiable?
The chapter emphasizes thorough prep.
Okay.
Understand your objectives, anticipate potential risks,
Yeah.
and even try to get into your partner's head.
Oh, wow.
What are their deal breakers?
Interesting. So a lot of strategic thinking before you even sit down at the table.
For sure.
It's about finding a win-win solution, not just trying to outsmart each other.
That's the key.
Right.
The chapter emphasizes a cooperative mindset,
Okay.
even when your aims conflict.
Yeah.
A partnership that starts with one side feeling cheated isn't going to be very successful.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So what are the typical things that companies hash out during these negotiations?
The chapter provides a breakdown of a standard partnership agreement or letter of intent.
Okay.
You're outlining each partner's contributions, how management and staffing will work, decision-making procedures,
Right.
even how compensation will be handled.
Essentially setting clear expectations from day one.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
building a foundation for a healthy, functioning partnership.
Precisely.
Okay.
And for newbies to this whole partnership thing, the chapter suggests starting small.
Okay.
A joint project can be a test run before jumping into a full-blown merger or acquisition. Right. Think of it like dating before you get engaged.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider the potential for cultural clashes.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, the chapter dives into the importance of cultural integration, right?
Absolutely.
It's one thing to find a partner with the right resources.
Right.
But if your company cultures clash,
Yeah.
that could derail the whole thing.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
The chapter tackles this head-on, offering a framework for understanding the different ways cultures can integrate within a partnership.
Okay, I need some clarification here.
Okay.
When we say cultural integration, are we talking about everyone adopting the same cultural norms?
Wow.
Because that doesn't seem realistic
Yeah.
or even desirable in a global partnership.
You're right.
Right.
It's not about erasing differences.
Okay.
In fact, the chapter emphasizes that cultural diversity can actually be a competitive advantage.
Interesting.
If you manage it well,
Yeah.
integration is more about understanding and respecting those differences. I think
Think ways to bridge them so the partnership thrives.
so. Finding that sweet spot between preserving your own cultural identity and adapting to the context of your partner.
Exactly.
This sounds incredibly complex.
It can be,
Yeah.
but the chapter offers guidance
Okay.
based on a model of sociocultural integration developed by Nahavandi and Malaksada.
Right.
They propose 4 main modes of acculturation:
Okay.
integration, assimilation, separation, and deculturation.
Okay. Break those down for me one by one.
Oh, sure.
What does integration look like in action?
Integration is the ideal scenario.
Okay.
Both partners keep their own values and practices, but they're also willing to adapt
Yeah.
and integrate into a shared structure that respects both sides.
Gotcha.
It requires open communication,
Okay.
a willingness to learn from each other,
Yeah.
and a commitment to finding common ground.
Sounds like the recipe for a healthy, balanced partnership.
It is.
But what about assimilation? Assimilation is when one partner adopts the culture and systems of the other.
Okay.
This might happen if the acquired company has been struggling,
Right.
or if their employees see the acquiring company's culture as superior.
Yeah.
It can be effective, but it also risks resentment and loss of identity
Oh, wow.
if not handled carefully.
Right. It's about finding the balance between adopting best practices and preserving what makes each partner unique.
Exactly.
Now, what about separation? Is that ever a good option?
Separation is where each partner maintains their distinct cultures and practices with minimal exchange between them.
Right.
This might work if they operate in very different markets
Yeah.
or have completely different business structures.
Go a live and let live approach to cultural differences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the chapter points out that this limits the potential for synergy and collaboration.
Right. You're not really getting the full benefits of the partnership.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have deculturation.
All right.
What does that entail?
Deculturation is the least desirable outcome.
Okay.
It's where members of the acquired partner lose their own cultural identity, but also can't or won't adopt the culture of the acquiring partner.
Gotcha.
This leads to confusion,
Yeah.
frustration, a sense of alienation.
Wow.
Ultimately, it's harmful to the partnership.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. It underscores why thinking about cultural integration from the very beginning of the partnership is so crucial.
Makes sense.
And the chapter gives some practical tools to help navigate these complexities, like developing a cultural integration plan.
So It's about being proactive, anticipating potential challenges,
Right.
and coming up with strategies to mitigate them
Exactly.
before they blow up the partnership.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's where strong leadership,
Mm.
clear communication,
Mhm.
and a genuine commitment to understanding different cultural perspectives
Yeah.
are absolutely essential.
Completely.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but I'm
Yeah.
really eager to dive deeper
Okay.
into the actual process of integrating partners.
Right.
Once the deal is done,
Mm-hmm.
what are some best practices companies can follow
Sure.
to make this transition smooth and successful?
Well, let's dive into that after a quick break is over. Let's get right back into it.
All right, deep divers, we're back and ready to tackle the nuts and bolts of actually integrating partners in international business.
Okay.
Chapter 4 outlines some best practices for making this process as painless as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts with strong leadership.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like, practically speaking?
The chapter emphasizes how vital it is to establish clear leadership roles and responsibilities early on.
Okay.
You need a capable team at the helm, guiding the integration process and making sure everyone's on the same page.
So it's like having captains who can steer these two ships into one cohesive vessel,
Yeah.
especially when you factor in those cultural differences we talked about earlier.
That's a great analogy. And the chapter suggests the leadership team doesn't have to come entirely from within the existing companies.
Oh, interesting.
Sometimes an outside perspective can be beneficial,
Okay.
especially if it helps accelerate the integration and enables bigger changes on both sides.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes an outsider can see the bigger picture more clearly.
Mm-hmm.
They can bring fresh ideas and a neutral perspective to the table.
Right.
But even with a strong leadership team in place,
Okay.
I imagine communications is absolutely key during this transition.
Yeah, for sure.
Merging two companies can create a lot of uncertainty and anxiety among
You're
employees.
spot on.
Right.
Effective communication is crucial for keeping everyone informed,
Yeah.
addressing concerns, and
Mhm.
maintaining morale.
Right.
The chapter stresses the importance of transparency,
Okay.
making sure employees hear about important developments directly from the company
Yeah.
before reading about them in the press.
So actions speak louder than words. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk,
Mhm.
especially when you're trying to build trust and create a sense of unity during a merger.
Right.
And alongside clear communication,
Yeah.
the chapter also highlights the importance of a well-structured integration task force
Okay.
or infrastructure.
Uh-huh.
This involves creating dedicated teams
Right.
to handle the specific tasks associated with the integration,
Okay.
like merging IT systems or streamlining operations.
Yeah, things like that.
It's about having a clear plan,
Mm-hmm.
dividing the workload effectively,
Right.
and ensuring everyone knows their role
Yeah.
and what's expected of them.
Exactly.
It sounds like a project management approach is essential
Yeah.
to keep everything on track
Mm-hmm.
and prevent the whole process from descending into chaos.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right.
The chapter even suggests using a balanced scorecard approach
Okay.
to track performance throughout the entire integration process.
What does that involve?
This involves setting key performance indicators,
Okay.
or KPIs.
Oh, KPIs.
Yeah,
Those are those quantifiable metrics businesses use to track progress, right?
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And in this case, it's about having a holistic view
Hmm.
of how the integration is progressing
Right.
and identifying any areas that need attention.
So it's not just about measuring the financial success of the partnership,
Right.
but also the human impact.
Oh, got it.
You're asking, are employees feeling valued? Are customers happy with the transition? Are the internal systems actually working smoothly?
It's about recognizing that successful integration involves more than just numbers.
Right.
It's about creating a new organizational culture
Yeah.
that embraces the best of both partners.
And speaking of organizational culture,
Yeah.
the chapter doesn't shy away from the potential for clashes during the integration process, right?
Right.
It emphasizes the need for proactive planning,
Mhm.
open communication,
Yeah.
and a willingness to learn from each other's cultural perspectives.
Right.
It all comes back to clear and consistent communication,
Exactly.
whether it's about leadership,
Yeah.
managing expectations,
Mhm.
or navigating cultural differences.
Right.
Open dialogue and a genuine effort to understand each other are absolutely crucial for success.
For sure.
The chapter even recommends developing a specific cultural integration plan
Okay.
to address potential areas of conflict.
Right.
This might involve cultural sensitivity training or creating opportunities for employees from both companies
Right.
to interact and learn from each other. Oh, wow.
Exactly. Sometimes those cultural differences aren't about fundamental values,
Okay.
but rather different ways of working or communicating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Simply having a framework for understanding those differences
Mm-hmm.
can prevent misunderstandings and foster mutual respect.
I see.
And the chapter actually uses a fascinating case study to illustrate this.
Oh, okay.
The merger of Adidas and Reebok.
Oh, yeah, I remember that merger.
Yeah.
It seemed like such a natural fit at the time.
Mm.
Two global sportswear giants joining forces.
Exactly.
But, if I recall correctly, things didn't go quite as smoothly as planned.
That's right.
So what happened?
The chapter uses this case study to demonstrate how, even with careful planning
Okay.
and what seems like good cultural fit,
Yeah.
things can still go wrong if the branding and overall integration strategy aren't carefully managed.
Okay, let's break this down.
Right.
Remind me what Adidas's main goals were in acquiring Reebok.
Their primary goal was to increase their market share
Okay.
and challenge the dominance of their main competitor at the time, Nike.
Gotcha.
The acquisition gave Adidas greater scale,
Okay.
which led to cost savings and more bargaining power with suppliers and retailers.
So it was about flexing their muscles in the global sportswear market?
Sure.
And going head-to-head with Nike?
Exactly.
Okay.
And there were also some significant opportunities for synergy,
Right.
particularly in areas like manufacturing, distribution, and marketing.
Yeah.
Adidas also saw value in Reebok's strong presence in the U.S. market,
Okay.
which was an area where Adidas had struggled to gain a foothold.
So on paper, it seemed like a win-win situation.
It did.
Adidas gets bigger,
Yeah.
gains access to the U.S. market, and benefits from Reebok's expertise in certain sports segments.
Right.
So what went wrong?
Well, according to the chapter, one major challenge was Reebok's somewhat unclear branding.
Okay.
Adidas was known for its strong and consistent brand identity,
Right.
while Reebok had struggled to maintain a clear, consistent message. This made it difficult to integrate the two brands without diluting Adidas's core identity.
Right. It's like trying to mix oil and water.
Yeah.
If the brands don't have clear, distinct identities, it creates confusion among consumers and ultimately hurts both brands.
Precisely.
Right.
And despite efforts to reposition Reebok as a fitness-focused brand,
Okay.
the integration strategy failed to create a clear and compelling narrative
Gotcha.
for the combined entity.
So even though Adidas had done their homework in terms of operational integration,
Yeah.
setting up integration teams,
Right.
implementing a transparent communication strategy, and even sending Adidas managers to Reebok locations,
Exactly.
the lack of a cohesive brand strategy ultimately undermined the partnership.
That's the big takeaway from this case study.
Okay.
It highlights the importance of considering not just the operational and cultural aspects of integration, but also the strategic branding implications.
Right.
A successful merger or acquisition requires a clear vision
Yeah.
for how the brands will coexist and complement each other in the marketplace.
It's a valuable lesson, for sure.
So it is.
Even with the best intentions and seemingly good cultural fit,
Yeah,
a poorly executed branding strategy can sabotage the whole thing.
absolutely.
It makes you wonder,
Mm-hmm.
are there any foolproof strategies for integrating companies with distinct brands? Or is it always a gamble even with the best planning?
That's the million-dollar question. It's something many companies grapple with.
Right.
And I think it speaks to the complexity of international business partnerships.
Yeah,
There's always an element of risk and uncertainty,
for sure.
but that's part of what makes it so challenging and exciting.
Well said. I'm ready to explore that question further, but let's first take a quick more. Break is over. Time to wrap up our deep dive into international business partnerships. Let's do it. Before that Adidas-Reebok case study sidetracked us, we were talking about best practices for integrating partners in international business.
Right.
Chapter 4 emphasizes speed and clarity as two major factors in making an integration successful. What does that look like, practically speaking?
Well, it's a delicate balancing act.
Okay.
If you move too slowly, you risk creating uncertainty and fueling rumors, which can really hurt employee morale.
Yeah, I can see that.
But if you rush the process, it can lead to conflicts and prevent trust from developing between the merging entities.
So it's all about finding that Goldilocks zone of integration speed.
Exactly.
Not too fast, not too slow, but just right.
Yep.
Are there any guidelines or benchmarks companies can use to figure out the right pace?
While there's no magic formula, the chapter highlights the importance of setting clear milestones.
Okay.
For example, aiming to achieve significant integration milestones within the first 90 to 100 days can help create momentum and demonstrate a commitment to moving forward.
That makes sense. Having concrete goals and deadlines can keep everyone focused and motivated.
Absolutely.
But speed isn't everything, right?
Right.
You also need to ensure that the integration is done effectively and that the new entity can actually function smoothly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Alongside speed, the chapter emphasizes clarity, particularly when it comes to leadership roles, decision-making processes, and communication.
Okay.
It's about establishing clear lines of authority, outlining roles and responsibilities, and ensuring everyone understands how decisions are made within the new structure.
So it's like creating a new organizational blueprint that blends the best of both companies while minimizing confusion and potential conflicts.
Exactly.
And I imagine this clarity is especially important when it comes to managing those cultural differences we talked about earlier.
You're right on the mark. Clear communication and a well-defined integration strategy can help mitigate cultural clashes and make sure everyone feels valued and respected throughout the process.
It seems like successfully navigating the complexities of international business partnerships requires a strategic blend of art and science.
Yeah, it does.
You need analytical skills to assess market opportunities, evaluate potential partners, and develop a solid integration plan. But you also need that human element, the ability to build trust, communicate effectively, and handle cultural differences with sensitivity and respect.
That sums it up perfectly. And the chapter highlights one final best practice that I think is incredibly valuable: the importance of learning from the experience.
Okay.
Every partnership, whether it's a success story or not, offers valuable lessons that can be applied to future collaborations.
So it's about treating each partnership as a learning opportunity, even if things don't go exactly according to plan.
What kind of takeaways might companies glean from these experiences?
It could be anything from refining their partner selection process or improving their negotiation strategies to developing more effective communication plans or cultural integration programs.
Wow.
The key is to have a system in place for capturing those lessons learned and incorporating them into future endeavors.
So it's all about continuous improvement, constantly refining your approach to international business partnerships based on real-world experience.
Exactly. And that's what makes this field so dynamic and fascinating. It's a constant process of learning, adapting, and finding new ways to thrive in an increasingly globalized marketplace.
Wow, that was intense. Who knew there was so much to consider when forming international business partnerships? It's like a whole new world of strategy, negotiation, and cultural awareness.
It's definitely a lot to process. But if there's one key takeaway here, it's that cultural integration isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about leveraging those differences as a source of competitive advantage. So true. It makes you wonder, with the rise of remote work and global teams, how much more relevant are these cultural integration strategies becoming, even outside of formal partnerships? Something to ponder, deep divers. Until next time.